Okay, guys, welcome back to the Daily Dreamer. I'm doing a follow up to the previous one that I just put because I'm on a 15-minute time limit with YouTube. But nonetheless, okay, so we were talking about my nightly dream that came from a meditative state that I was asking in regards to how I can open myself as a better portal to my higher self connected consciousness, if you will. And what came to me was that I needed to work on my desires. I need to reshape my negative desires that have apparently gotten out of control. So like maybe I need to stop drinking, I don't know, an orange soda a day. I don't know. The drinks, the cigarettes, the whatever you feel could now at this point be harming you instead of doing something to benefit you, like, these addictions that we all have, and we all have them. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be chewing gum for all that matter. I mean, who knows? After chewing gum for 30 years, you might have decayed your teeth. I don't know. It could be an addiction. Moving on. Anyways, we're getting back to the download that I received in the meditative state from Q. And what he was saying was that how can you ask again how to understand in dealing with these desires. The first thing was by disciplining the thoughts when we sit for a moment. By sitting with ourselves, disciplining our thoughts, we change our perception, our potential for ourselves, and thus others. If you can discipline yourself to start putting out small words of desires that reflect love for you, and your desires then at that point will manifest themselves, not as instantly as we would like, because we are such an instant society. So you can't just sit there and just go, okay, well, I want $1 million and I want a car. I desired it. It should be here, right? We're not to that level yet. You want to know why we're not to that level? Because we can't seem to clear our thoughts. We can get to that level because inadvertently, when we put out those words that I want $1 million, guess what? I've already set in motion the wheels for that to happen. How, you say? Well, you start with your going to work and taking care of the dailies, but not in that way. Not in that way. You set the wheels in motion because when you go to work, you get that paycheck, you pay your bills, but in the end, you know that you're putting a little bit towards that self-desire of maybe starting your own business, for instance. That business that is going to net you that $1 million profit. It's little things like that. You set the wheels in motion because you take the actions, you make the actions happen. Your desire to have that $1 million, but it's when those desires get out of control that we got to learn to sit with ourselves. Here's the remedy on these desires that have become addictions or negative or are harming us or other people. Okay, he says, discipline yourself. Start with putting in the small words of love out to yourself. Your desires, of course, will manifest itself. Not as instant as we like, but they will happen, he says. If our desire is of purest intent and there is good within those thoughts, then by our own thoughts themselves and our own desire, if you will, to have a better effortless life in this realm, then we by default return to the center of our balanced self and this improving centered stances for our daily lives and others. So when we return to the balancing of ourselves, magic happens. Going on. Okay, where am I at? When we can balance ourselves and not allow desires to overrun us, or as Q had stated in my meditative state, overuse of will is what he referred to it as. Overuse of will. That's important. Certainly, he says, we all have experienced the use of manifesting something to either be or not be. That is the use of will. That is the use of will. Certainly, we have all experienced the use of manifesting something to either be or not. That is the use of will. The personal use of will can take those desires and distort them into unhealthy, even non-functioning addictions. It will skew our values into our perceived ways of thinking. So instead of saying, well, I desire to have a cigarette, I say that I have to have a cigarette. It distorted my thinking because I thought that my desire was something that I had to have when it's not. Something I would like to have, but it's not. That orange soda that I just love to have. Okay, maybe you know what my addiction is. Orange soda, I don't know. Anyways, okay, moving on. Something that will either be or not. That is the use of will, the personal. Okay, so it's the non-functioning addictions. It skews our values into our perceived ways of thinking and processing information. Think about it, he says. Say for times, and you have to bear with me, when I write, it's a constant, just write, because I can't keep up with it. So a lot of times words are minced, misspelled, whatever, because it just happens. And so you'll have to bear with me, but I'm working through it. Anyways, as they say, they're working with me. All right, so think about it. Say 4 times that we get emotional and we tend to take that drink or smoke the cigarette because we say that we have to have it. No, we desire it at that current moment. It isn't going to be something we need to finish thinking. Make sure I didn't miss a page. Yeah, it isn't going to be something we need to finish thinking through the situation, but we tell ourselves the very opposite, don't we? I have to have that cigarette. I got to deal with it. I got to have my soda. So Q says, these distortions of natural desires are in some way an action of prideful will. He says that simply pride in itself over and above our natural feelings connected with desire is as the cancer which takes over natural cells and begins multiplying them without hesitation. And that's true. So how do you deal with them? How do you deal with these desires that have manifested themselves into something negative? Okay, well, Q says the first way is not to give it a second thought. Imagine that. Refute any thought of that desire that is no good or addiction. If the thought pops up, nip it in the bud and stop the onset of that emotion for that desire. Okay. Can we just take a moment and appreciate that? Because I know what he says is legit, okay, but when you're in that moment, it is so much harder to nip it in the bud. So the onset of the, desire comes on, and you're already getting your blood going, you already can taste it, you can already feel it. Okay, so it's that moment when you start feeling that desire that you're supposed to just nip it in the bud. Just quench that thought. That is so much harder than it looks. I mean, that is going to require me to really be strong in my self-will on this one. I'll tell you. Let me know how it works out for you guys. Okay, so that's how we do it. Refute the thought, he says. So, okay, that's the first one, right? But if the first one doesn't work, guess what? He's got another one, which is great. All right, he says it's usually hard to do in this realm. He says the neglect of that feeling, if you ignore it or lay it to rest, if you are able to nip it in the bud, he says that it will allow for our deep roots of consciousness to find deeper wisdom. So apparently you have to go through that withdrawal in order to finally find you and deeper roots of your higher conscious wisdom. So nip it in the bud, folks. Come on, step up that will. He says that every time that you start feeling that pull towards that desire, which is not so good, drench yourself in the yes-no game. Okay? Every time you tell yourself, no, I'm not going to take that drink, then play the little voice. The little voice on the other side says, yeah, you want that drink? Play the game verbally back and forth. No, I don't want, no, I don't want it. No, I don't need it. Yeah, but I would like to have it. Play it back and forth until the no, I don't need it, it's a desire, outwins the little yes voice on the other shoulder. Play a game with yourself. Start retraining your thoughts. Okay? You don't have to have it. Yes, I do. No, I don't. I want to have it. So start changing those thoughts, because it'll start changing the perception for you. And then slowly, hopefully, not as instantly as we'd like, you can overcome that negative desire, that addiction, if you will. So anyways, so talk about it or nip it in the bud, the thought. Play the game verbally with it. Keep saying you will not, you don't need it, or it isn't something that you have to have. It's something you would like to have. On and on. Talk yourself out of it by simply drenching every negative thought of why you have to have it with a reason as to why you don't have to have it. That same therapy, if you will, is going to allow you to reach a quiet within self as well, because you're meditating, you're working through. Okay, so that same therapy is going to allow you to find that inner self that you need, and in as well, either through dreaming or knowing, or some way it will find a way to give that message to you. It will reach its way to find you consciously, to tell you that your desire, now that you have conquered, is back at a healthy, pure heart intention thought. So it's just thoughts that have gotten out of control. Each time that you are able to get to the bottom of a desire that got you out of control, you are actually able to see that at the back of the bus there in the last seat was the desire to simply cooperate with yourself to bring you back to a destiny that has brought you all of what you have enjoyed so far. I love my dreams. You will find yourself saying, I surrender, because you did. You surrendered to it. And you, guess what? You overcame it. And it may not be your will. Say you don't want to really quit cigarettes, but you have to, because, well, you can't breathe anymore. Okay, it's not your will, but guess what? You did it. You surrendered. And it wasn't your will, but it was, in a way. It is the Creator's will. It is the will because you wanted to be back in perfect balance with a creation, a manifestation, a living reality of what you enjoy. So, okay, I surrender, and it may not be my will, but it is someone's will, and it is a beautiful will when we can further find our deeper roots to consciousness. So that's exciting. So that was my meditative state on regards to how I can become a better vessel to my higher connectedness, but I see that we are running out of time. So I'm going to end here. I haven't forgotten about the dream, though, that came afterwards. So I will share that in the next video. It's going to have to be a 3-parter for a 1-day thing. I may have to go to YouTube and actually appeal for more time. What do you think? Share my page. Get me some subscribers. I think I'm at 4. I'm so excited. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Many blessings to you. And I'll see you next time.